Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so as we usually do, let's just check our posture first. Okay, so once again, in general, good posture is just sitting a little bit taller. Okay, think of someone pulling your head up to the ceiling. Okay, and just get your shoulders a little bit wider apart. Okay, so let's just start off with just a couple of basic breaths. Okay, we might do a little bit of breath holding. If you, at any point, if you don't feel comfortable, if you feel not well, please stop at any point. If you have any health conditions, also may check with your doctor first before you do any kind of major breath holds as well. Okay, so pretty much, if you don't feel well, please stop. Okay, so once again, sitting taller, a little bit wider through the shoulders. Okay, let's just take a couple of breaths in and out. Okay, try to breathe in through the nose and also out through the nose as well. Okay, so take a breath in. Okay, just at your own pace. Okay, and just kind of notice where the breath is going. Okay, which part of your body is moving when you breathe in. Okay, which part of the body is moving as you breathe out. Okay, and maybe just try to bring your attention to pretty much your breath. Okay, so notice the quality of the air that's coming in. Okay, is the air kind of cold? Is it warm? Okay, and we're going to warm up by doing a couple of mini breath holds. Okay, so just continue breathing as you usually do. Okay, but at the end of the exhale, you're going to try to just do a pause for about 5 seconds. Okay, so you take a breath in, breath out. Okay, and just kind of hold it and exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and just breathe a couple of times until you feel like you're back to kind of normal. If you feel like you are kind of huffing and puffing almost to try to catch your breath, hold it for less than 5 seconds. Okay, so if you're ready, we're going to do it a couple more times. Okay, so once again, at the end of the exhale, you can just go your own count. Okay, for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and a couple of normal breaths in and out. Okay, I'm still kind of checking my posture. Sometimes as I get tired, I might start to round my back more and more. Okay, but that decreases the amount of space we have for our lungs to expand, for our diaphragm to expand. So kind of resets if you need to. Okay, but when you are ready, then get back to think of taller and a little bit wider. Okay, let's just do the mini breath hold again. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, normal breath again. We're just going to do this for one more time. Okay, when you're ready, last mini breath hold. Okay, normal breath in, normal breath out. Okay, and at the end, exhale, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and once again, just catch your breath. Okay, so now we're really going to focus more on the kind of the how we're breathing. Okay, so we're going to just want to slow this down. Okay, so the goal is to make our breath lighter. Okay, so we don't want to be sometimes we over breathe. You can think of someone who is having, say, an anxiety attack or a panic attack, and they start to hyperventilate. Okay, that stimulates kind of the fight or flight response. Okay, so when you overbreathe, you tend to be more anxious. When we slow down our breathing, make our breathing a little bit lighter, that helps us to our body to relax and go into more of a kind of rest and digest kind of state. Okay, so when you pay attention to the breathing, once again, you're going to breathe in through the nose. Okay, and you go to breathe so lightly that you imagine the fine hair in your nose are not moving when you breathe in and breathe out. Okay, naturally, you are going to be breathing a little bit slower. You can imagine that someone beside you wouldn't be able to hear you breathing in or breathing out. Okay, at any point, if you feel like you starting to get the air hunger, okay, a little bit is perfectly normal because you are kind of expelling less carbon dioxide. Okay, and you're not used to it, your body is trying to make you breathe a little bit more. Okay, but if you start to feel like you really want to breathe faster, please do so. Okay, so just a light medium hunger is fine. Any more, then try to breathe a little bit faster. Okay, so during the exhale, almost trying to just let the air naturally come out. Okay, so you're not pushing the air through. Okay, so that will naturally slow down your exhale as well. So now we're going to bring our attention to which part of the body we are using to breathe in and out. Okay, so you can put maybe one hand on your chest, okay, one hand on your stomach, okay, and just pay attention to which part is moving, which part is staying still. Okay, so our goal is to breathe using more of our diaphragm. Okay, so the bottom hand should be moving a little bit more. Okay, so our goal is to breathe a little bit deeper into the lungs, okay, where gravity pulls more of the blood. Yes, you move your diaphragm, and also kind of moves our internal organs a little bit. So you can think of that as a little bit of a massage as well. Okay, so another word for deep would be to breathe lower. Okay, so see if you can calm your chest down, see if you can imagine just the air going a little bit lower. Okay, so let's pay more attention to the bottom part now. Okay, so when you put your hands, kind of your thumb be around your lower ribs. Okay, so if you go to the side of your body, straight around maybe the left of your belly button to the side, you should still find your lower ribs. Okay, so as you breathe in, not only should your front, so the front fingers move. Okay, see if you can get the side of the fingers to move out a little bit as well. So think of your trunk as almost like an umbrella. So the umbrella doesn't open just in front, it also opens out to the side and also the back as well. So you might feel your thumb getting pushed out a little bit as you breathe in. Okay, and you feel your thumbs sinking into your body as you breathe out. Okay, let's check up a little bit of our middle ribs first one. So you can either kind of reach around like this, okay, or if you want, you can just reach a little higher up. You can also use a resistance band if that helps. So if you want, you can wrap a band kind of around your pretty much your sternum area. And the kind of the resistance will also remind us to just kind of let your body sink in as you breathe out. So as you breathe in, you should feel a little bit of resistance through the band, okay, and just almost try to relax and let the band kind of pull your ribs down. Okay, so relax into the exhalation. Okay, so as we focus on these breaths, you might notice your mind also starts to wander a little bit. Okay, so you can just kind of let the thought kind of passes by. Okay, and when you're able, just bring your attention back to the breath, okay, to what your body is doing. So this is almost like a form of mindfulness, okay, or maybe a form of meditation as well. So you can keep the band on if you want to. You can also remove it as well. Okay, we're going to just play around with the cadence of the breath as well now. So the goal of breathing is still breathing better, is still breathing a little lighter. Okay, so as you breathe in and out, you don't imagine the fine hair of your nose not really moving. We want to breathe a little bit deeper or a little bit lower. Okay, so into the diaphragm, into the ribs instead of the chest breathing. Okay, and lastly is just to breathe a little bit slower. Okay, so kind of a lot of things to kind of pay attention to. Okay, but let's give it a try. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing as what we did last week. Okay, so it'll be kind of a 4 seconds in, okay, and then a 6 seconds out. Okay, so if you have a clock, you can use that as if a seconds hand, you can use that as a guide. I'm trying to pull up a clock as well to make it a little bit easier to see. Let's see again. Okay, good. Okay, so you can use that as the guide. Okay, so just start at any point. Okay, still trying to breathe a little bit lighter. Try to breathe a little bit lower or deeper. Okay, and then try to see if you can breathe in for about 4 seconds. Okay, and then breathe out for about 6 seconds. Okay, so starting points, use the seconds as a guide. Do a little bit longer or shorter, completely up to you. Just try to make the exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. It's about a minute of practice. Okay, so you can kind of do this even, like all of this, even when you are kind of walking around, going for your walk. So sometimes you might start to feel air hunger when you're not pretty much, once again, it's not because you're not getting enough oxygen. Most people are, unless you have some sort of lung condition. Generally speaking, when we want to breathe faster, it's because carbon dioxide is accumulating a little more in our body, which is not always a bad thing. Okay, so carbon dioxide actually dilates arteries and airways in the body as well. So when you overbreathe, when people hyperventilate, when they get a little lightheaded, partially it's because there's not enough oxygen getting into the brain when there's not enough carbon dioxide in the body. Okay, so we're going to try to do this in also a moving state as well. Okay, so if you feel okay, we're going to stand up. We're going to try almost the same practice again, but in more of a standing position. Okay, while we're walking. Just as a side note, when people wear face masks and they start to feel like they can't breathe, partially it's because there's more carbon dioxide because it is kind of you're breathing back in the mask and breathing it back in. So your body is going to accumulate more carbon dioxide as well. And that's where the breathlessness kind of comes in. So this is also can help you feel more comfortable wearing a mask as well. Okay, so let's check our surroundings, make sure you feel safe, make sure you feel okay. Okay, so we are, and if you're okay, then we're just going to go into a very light march. Okay, so move as slowly as you want to. Okay, you can even just pump your heels. Okay, hold on to something. Okay, so let's check our posture again. So think of sitting a little bit taller. Okay, so once again, imagine someone or yourself dragging the top of your head up. Okay, relax the shoulders. Okay, make it a little wider. Okay, so just give ourselves a second to get used to this. Okay, so from sitting to standing, you might notice that your breathing is already a little bit faster. Okay, your heart rate might have just increased just now, which is perfectly normal. Okay, so for now, just kind of pay attention to your posture and see if you can just relax through the shoulders, straighten through the arms. Okay, and once again, we're going to start from the top. Okay, so once again, you're going to try to make your breathing a little bit lighter when you're able. Okay, lighter is still a relative term, so compared to sitting down, your breathing is probably going to be a little bit faster, a little bit heavier, okay, but just relatively speaking, try to make it a little bit lighter. Okay, imagine the fine hair of your nose again. Okay, so let's just do this for about a minute first. Okay, so I'm going to open up the clock again. Let me see if I can reset it. Okay, once again, use this time almost as a form of meditation. Okay, so try to put your attention to your breath. Okay, for example, notice the air that you breathe in maybe feels a little cold or cooler. And the air you're breathing out through your nose may feel relatively warmer. So you might notice a natural pause at the end of the exhale. Okay, so now let's shift our attention to the biomechanics of our breathing. Okay, or in other words, which part of the body we are using to bring the air in. Okay, and once again, the goal is to breathe a little bit deeper, or you can think of breathing lower. Okay, so if you want, you can use the hands to give you a little bit of feedback again. So find any of your ribs to the side, maybe with your thumb. Okay, and the other fingers can be in front of your belly. Okay, and just imagine your lungs like a balloon. Okay, so things will expand as you breathe in. Okay, and just let your body naturally push air back out. Okay, so you might notice that we're kind of breathing around the same rate as when we are just sitting around. Okay, could be a little bit faster. But generally speaking, when we are sitting around, we really don't need to be breathing that quickly. And you can always just relax your arms as well. Still pay attention to where the breath is going. Okay, so usually when I go for a walk, this is kind of what I'm kind of practicing nowadays. It's just paying more attention to our breath. Okay, maybe a little more difficult when you have the mask on. Your body might feel like it's getting a little bit warmer. Because our heart probably is beating a little faster than when we're sitting. Okay, and for the next maybe a minute or so, let's practice the cadence breathing or slowing down our breathing again. So the goal is to breathe around, so people say it's 4.5 to 6.5 kind of breaths per minute. Okay, so that's roughly 10 seconds per breathing in and breathing out. Okay, so which is why we do about 4 seconds breathing in, okay, and about 6 seconds breathing out. Okay, so just once again, use the clock as a guide. Okay, you can always count in your head as well. Okay, so you might feel an urge to almost stop your breathing or just to resist breathing too quickly. Don't be too tense. Okay, try to just slow it down without trying to resist it too much. Okay, and let's stop back here. Okay, you can go back to, if you feel like air hunger, definitely go back to your normal breathing. Okay, but this is the kind of practice you can do when you're walking around as well. Sometimes even doing other forms of exercise. Okay, doesn't necessarily have to be this slow. So once again, slower, things like that is still relative. Okay, so when you're doing something a little bit more strenuous, okay, you can still try to pay attention to what you're doing. Still maybe try to breathe in through the nose. Okay, breathe out through the nose. Okay, but at certain points, of course, if you are exercising intensely enough, you are going to start kind of breathing through the mouth as well. Okay, but the goal, once again, is to breathe a little bit lighter. Okay, breathe a little bit lower or deeper. Okay, and breathe a little bit slower as well. Okay, so let's just do one last kind of breath hold first. Okay, so this is one way to check how well you're breathing in a sense. Okay, it's just to check your almost a breath hold time. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna breathe in, take a breath in, take a normal, so there's a normal breath in, normal breath out. Okay, and at the exhale, you're just going to hold. You can plug your nose if you want to, or you can just kind of pause. Okay, and you're just going to count how many seconds you can kind of hold until you feel the first kind of sign of want to breathing to take a breath. Okay, so it's not, once again, it's not to hold your breath for as long as possible. Okay, it's just to the point where you suddenly feel an urge to breathe. Okay, you might even, some people feel like almost a contraction of the diaphragm of your trunk muscles because your body wants you to take a breath in. Okay, so when you breathe in, try to breathe in through the nose as well. Okay, so this is one way to check how well your breath hold time is. If you have a lung condition, you're going to have a much lower time. If you start to feel ill, you might also notice your breath hold time increases as well. Okay, so just I'm going to start the clock again at whenever you're ready, just normal breath in, normal breath out. Let's see how long you can hold until you feel the first urge to breathe. Okay, so just at your own pace. Oh, the clock stopped. Okay, so the goal is to kind of get to 25 seconds is considered to be normal. People usually simply say about 45 seconds is more. You can get to closer to 40 seconds. That would be more ideal. Okay, so I kind of had asthma as a kid as well, so my breath hold time is actually not that great, and I'm still kind of working on it as well. Okay, so let's make a little bit of a change. Okay, we are just going to try to do maybe a little bit of stretching just to open up the trunk muscles a little bit more. Okay, so let's just do the basic one where we try to breathe more into our backs. Okay, so you can just kind of lean forward if you want to. If you can get your knees a little bit higher than your hips, that would be great. Okay, and you're just going to kind of have a slight rounded posture. Okay, so just a little bit less space in the front of our body. Okay, and all you're going to do is just to take a couple of bigger breaths in this time. Okay, and try to direct the air more into our backs. Okay, you can just pay attention to what is moving as well at the beginning. Okay, so you come back out. Okay, pause as long as you need to until you feel okay. Okay, so try to do the opposite a little bit. So bring your chest up, arch your back a little bit. Okay, when you're ready, see if you can still feel the same, almost a similar kind of sensation as you breathe in. Okay, so imagine trying to direct the air more towards the back. Okay, if you have back pain or if you have a tight back in general, this might be a little bit more difficult. Okay, but don't necessarily have any, don't think of it as a criticism, just think of it as more of an awareness. Okay, so see if just being more aware of what is moving in your body. Okay, so let's stretch out the side a little bit. So this one, we are going to go back to a standing position. Let's grab a chair to hold. Okay, so give everyone a second to get used to the standing position. Pause as long as you need to, take as long as you need. Okay, but always safety first. Okay, so take control of your breathing again. So try to make it a little lighter when you feel ready. Make it a little deeper. Okay, and when you're ready, we're just going to have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Just maybe bring the front of your pelvis slightly higher. Okay, so you might feel a little bit of a stretch in the front of your back leg. Okay, so I can feel my heart rate a little bit faster as I stand up. My shoulders will be a little tense. Okay, so we're going to have just our arms slightly off to the side. Let's try to open our palms slightly. Okay, and for the open side, imagine breathing more to that side of the body. You can lean a little bit sideways. Okay, bring the arms slightly high up. So as you take a lower breath in, you might feel a little bit of a stretch in the side of your trunk. So you might feel the tension or the tightness in your arms and your legs. Okay, so still almost trying to just let that thought almost pass us by. Okay, so we're still okay. Okay, if you're in pain, feel free to stop at any point. And try to see if you can direct your attention to still breathing into the side of the open area. Okay, and let's come back down. Okay, probably a little bit of tightness, soreness in the one side of the body. Okay, so part of it, you can think of part of meditation, part of it is just being okay with these kind of sensations. Okay, so knowing that our body is okay. Okay, a little bit, it's just a little bit of tension. So sometimes being just a little comfortable with being slightly uncomfortable, okay, not letting that kind of control our breathing. Okay, so instead, we're kind of using a breath to kind of calm our body back down. Okay, so let's do the same thing on the other side. So still 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, front of the pelvis slightly up, so your pelvis is kind of leveled off. Maybe a little bit of a stretch in the front of the hips. And once again, we're going back into the lighter breathing, lower breathing. And when you're ready, you can raise one arm up, maybe to shoulder level. Keep fingers pulled up slightly. Try and breathe into the open side. And have a little bit of slightly bring the arm up. So your goal is almost try to be an observer of your body, an observer of your thoughts. So you can think of yourself as more of a passive observer. So you're not there to make any criticism or judgment. Okay, you're just there to observe what is going on. Okay, and that's one way we can also take control of our own thoughts. Okay, so let's just kind of breathe normally for a second. Okay, when you go into more movement. Okay, so I'm just going to check the time. Okay, so we are just going to do a basic form of Qigong. I'm not I'm not expert in these forms, so just bear with me. I'm trying not to, so the goal is not necessarily to do these things perfectly either, okay, but just to pay attention to our breathing, to what our body is doing, okay, while we're in a more of a moving state. Okay, so posture first again. So make yourself, when you're ready, make yourself a little bit taller. So I'm pulling my head up. So maybe feel a slight tension in your mid-back muscles. Shoulders slightly wider apart. Just take a couple of breaths in and out. Okay, so you probably saw the chest breathing a little bit again already for my on me. So I'm trying to bring it more deeper again. Okay, so I'm trying to get into almost stage of a little bit of tension because I'm trying to make myself taller. Okay, but I'm not trying to be as relaxed as I can while I'm being taller. Okay, and we're just going to take a step out to one side. Okay, bring arms in front. Okay, so shoulders relax. Elbows almost let it drop down like hang. Okay, but your body is still tall. Okay, we're trying to take one breath in again. Okay, we're going to bring your hands a little bit further below. Okay, we're going to cross our fingertips. Okay, and we're just going to bring your hands up to your chest. Okay, as you get to your chest level, your hands are going to start to rotate. Okay, and you're just going to press up through the ceiling. Okay, hold for a little bit. Okay, and you're just going to bring your hands back down, drop down slightly. Okay, now almost try to imagine dropping down, relaxing into it. Okay, and you're going to repeat for 6 times. Okay, so think of sinking down as you bring everything back down. Okay, if balance is an issue, feel free to sit down to do this. And just don't be too tense about how to do this exactly. Okay, just think of moving your arms up and then sinking back down. Okay, we're going to pause for a second here. Okay, just normalize our breath again. Okay, so I feel like I'm more in chest breathing again, so I'm trying to go back to more of my belly breathing. Okay, trying to see if I can relax, keep my shoulders relaxed. Okay, while keeping a taller posture, a little bit wider for the shoulders. Okay, so we go into the second form now. Okay, so we are just going to take a wider step out. Okay, while bringing our hands in front, almost like a cross. Okay, you can do a bow and arrow. Okay, so you are just going to sink down while pushing one palm out and the elbow to the opposite side. Okay, you're still sinking down into the stance. You're trying to create more space between your palm, your wrist, okay, and the opposite elbow. Okay, you're going to reach out to the other side. Okay, and you're going to come back in. Let's move this chair out. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, but in the opposite direction this time. Okay, so once again, take a step out, bring your arms into a cross in front of your chest again. Okay, and once again, just sink down. Okay, how low you go. For this class, we don't really care as long as you feel like you can somewhat comfortable. Okay, once again, you're going to reach out to the opposite side. Bring yourself back down, back to the middle. Okay, so we're going to do this 6 times in total, so 4 more now. Okay, stepping out again to the opposite side. Sink down. Okay, so even as we're sinking down, still think of taller, wider. Okay, and once again, reach out to the opposite side. Okay, so take as long as you need in between to normalize your breath. Okay, just whenever you're ready. Step out to the opposite way. Draw a bow and arrow. Okay, 2 last time. So I can definitely feel myself going more into my chest, breathing into my chest. Okay, so I'm still trying to, even as I'm moving, try to bring it back down to my belly area. Okay, now just pause here for a second. Okay, trying to normalize our breathing again. Probably you feel your own heart rate. Okay, and let's shake everything back out. Okay, so that's kind of all the time we have for today. Okay, so still a little bit slower. Okay, but this is pretty much the gist of this class. It's just that sort of breathing in different positions. Sorry that we don't have time for the harmonica today. I can't find it this morning either. But we might bring it back next class. No problem. Okay, so yeah, you can. Sort of. You can think of that as full cup, like a diaphragmatic breathing. I'm not quite sure if it's exactly the same as what Tai Chi or Qigong kind of prescribes, okay, but it should be fairly similar. Yes, that should be yes. So that's different levels. So you want to start off learning to breathe a little bit lighter first. So that's this that's a heavy breath in or very fat heavy breath in. You want to make it a little lighter. Okay, and then second level is just to breathe more into using the diaphragm or your ribs. And then when you can manage that, then try to slow it down. Okay, so from even the Western research, we know that if you breathe too quickly, that actually increases our pain kind of sensitivity almost. So they kind of have shown that if you can breathe a little slower, you can breathe about 6 to 10 breaths a minute, that tends to help people lower their pain sensitivity as well. And even when people meditate, when they do prayers, they also notice that they breathe around usually that number of breaths, usually a little slower. So they about 4.5 to 6.5 breaths per minute is what they kind of recorded or observed when people are praying or kind of meditating. Yes. So a couple of benefits. We have more filters inside the nose. So when you breathe in through the nose, that naturally helps you kind of filter out the air a little bit. It does warm up the air as well. That's because we have a lot of blood vessels in the nose. That's why we get a nosebleed. And your nose also produces something called nitric oxide, which is kind of what kind of opens up the arteries of the airways a little bit as well. And lastly, so it's just that when you breathe in and out through the nose, you also expel less kind of moisture as well, which is kind of more important maybe nowadays because we don't want to, if let's say we were sick, we don't want to breathe out too much moisture into the air or minimize it. So if you can breathe in and out through the nose, that's a little better even for nowadays. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Exactly the same. Yeah. Exactly the same. Yeah. So the band is just to give you a little bit of feedback. It's kind of like using our hands. Sometimes it's when you say breathe to your belly, we don't quite understand what that means. When you have the band, it just gives you a little bit of pressure. So you know as you breathe in, you should almost be kind of pushing out the band slightly or pushing it out against the band. Okay. And as you breathe out, you don't want to be you don't have to be so tense and push the air back out. Just let it naturally come out. So let the band kind of help you to kind of sink back in, okay? And that will naturally push the air back out. And that's how our diaphragm works as well. So when we breathe in, the diaphragm muscle, so for these muscles, when we contract, we know it kind of does this. Okay, so if I'm like this, if I relax, it drops back down, right? I don't need to fling my arm back down. Okay, so as I contract, and then it relaxes into it. The diaphragm kind of works almost in the opposite direction in a way. So when it contracts, it actually is pulls downwards. Okay, so you can think of that as when it contracts, it's like this. Okay, and as it relaxes, it automatically comes back up. So we're just trying to learn to breathe in, contract the diaphragm, okay, and relax into the stretch by just letting it come back up. If you have lung conditions, that might not happen so much. So people with COPD, their ribs are almost expanded out already, and that they might have to consciously do a little bit more to get the air back out. Okay? But for most people, as you take a breath in, so even if I do a chest breathing like I'm doing now, if I just relax, the air automatically comes back out. I don't have to push it back out. If you do that too much, you're using more. You can think of that as tensing up as well. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Yeah. So in general, if you can, still use more of this. It's just more efficient that way. When you exercise in an intense level enough, you are going to start using your chest. That's natural. Okay, so but when let's say you're just sitting around, when you're just going for a light walk, we still want to be using these parts, which is more efficient. If you can breathe a little deeper, that's more efficient as well, because we have what we call dead space, which is just the space of the airways that is not your lungs. So the nose, the trachea, it's pretty much the neck. So those parts, it doesn't really that doesn't do oxygen exchange. Okay, so because it's not part of our lungs. Okay, so when you breathe very shallow, when you try to breathe into the chest, most of the air is just moving here. Okay, so you can imagine the air down here is not being recirculated. So pretty much you're wasting your breath in this space. Whereas when you can breathe more deeply, when you can kind of circulate the air further down, then your breathing becomes more efficient because you're not just breathing into these parts, which is not part of your lungs. It's still part of our breathing system, okay? But this is what we call kind of dead space because it doesn't do oxygen exchange or carbon gas exchange, also carbon dioxide as well. Yeah, no problem. So I'm still learning these things as well. I'm noticing these things in my own body. Like I suddenly remember that I had childhood asthma recently as I learned these things. So I'm just here to learn with everyone as well. Oh, thank you. No problem. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone. Yeah, of course. Yes. I forgot one last reason why that happens is that if you just notice your breath even now, so try to breathe in through the nose. Okay, so you can still see a little bit of chest breathing even on me. Okay, but if I breathe through my mouth, that naturally you can see a lot more chest breathing. Okay, so naturally it's connected to, mouth breathing is more connected to chest breathing. Yeah, so it's just because when we're breathing through the mouth, generally speaking, that's when we are doing that. It's just how our body naturally kind of does things. So when you breathe through the mouth, that tends to encourage. It's not saying you cannot do belly breathing with your mouth, but it encourages more chest breathing. So if you can breathe in through the nose, that will help you to encourage deeper breathing. Yeah. That I honestly don't know. And I honestly, there's sometimes the Chinese system is so, they have their reasons for doing things different, not differently, doing it certain ways as well. And they have the history, they have their reasons. Sometimes we don't understand those reasons either. So it's just for the way I was taught, the way I learned it, it's kind of, we do want to, when we at least resting, when we don't need to use our mouth to breathe in. So in general life, we do want to breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose a little bit more. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so take care, everyone. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Maybe see everyone next class. Bye-bye.